Jeff Snyder here for Collider, and I'm sitting down with the team behind 7 Days. We're here with director Roshan Sethi, co-writer Karan Soni, and his co-star Geraldine Viswanathan. Thank you guys for coming.
Nice job.
Yeah.
You guys are so sweet. So, Roshan, let's start with you. For the folks at home who haven't seen a trailer yet, why don't you explain what this film is about in your own words?
Yeah, I always find that tough because I'm so spoiler averse. But basically, a couple is set up on an arranged marriage date by their old-fashioned Indian parents, and they become trapped together by the circumstances of quarantine and sort of discover things about each other that they didn't know before. It's a romantic comedy.
And so, Karan, can you describe like the genesis of this project? Did you guys get stuck together during quarantine and everything? Was this a script that you wrote quickly at the start of the pandemic, or how did it all sort of shake out?
Yeah, well, actually, Roshan and I are in a relationship, and we were talking about how in the middle of this time last year, how we were creatively feeling so sort of depressed and just felt like June of last year, like it didn't know when the industry would open back up, which feels kind of not that far away now. But so we were just, Roshan sort of had the idea of being like, what if we just like wrote our own thing and just put in some of our own money and just made something so we didn't feel creatively sort of just adrift. And so we very quickly sort of came up with this idea and wrote this in 5 days, the script, and a fever dream because we had nothing else to do. And then sort of sent it out to a few line producers that we knew just to get an idea of like, what would this cost? And then just as a Hail Mary, we sent it to the Duplass brothers to be like, they'll never read it. But like, I had worked with them a bunch, but I was like, let me just send it out. And then, yeah, within a week or so, they read it and they were like, we want to make this. How soon can you make it? And so then before we knew it, we were like rushing into making the movie, which was amazing. And it's pretty much sustained us during this whole period creatively because we've constantly been, working on the post-production and all that stuff. So it's been a huge gift to get to work on this.
Well, I think it's really cool that you guys saw an opportunity, in the standstill. A lot of people got discouraged, but you guys took advantage of it. So Geraldine, what did you see in this character that made you want to take the plunge with these guys? And is it more fun playing a character who has a secret of some kind?
Yeah, I feel like the boys sent me the script and I just got all the warm, fuzzy feelings and thought it just like worked and was beautiful. And I would do anything to hang out with these two beautiful men. So I was like, sign me up, I'm in. And yeah, I think that duality is always really fun and interesting to play with, rather than just being like super upfront and honest, which is more similar to like what I am. So it was cool to play someone who's holding cards a little closer to the chest.
Roshan and Karan, I'm curious, like how many couples do you know who were wed via arranged marriages, and do you feel like those couples are more or less happier than couples who, I don't know, dated for years and did things a more traditional way?
Yeah, I feel like we know quite a few, mainly our relatives, but including my parents who met 7 days before they were married.
Wow.
Just like the movie. In general, I would say that I think arranged marriages are as successful as love marriages, statistically speaking, since love marriages are so generally unsuccessful, depending on how you look at it in America. So I think it's a very interesting and valid way to meet your soulmate.
Yeah, what's interesting about it is this idea with love, which can be so fickle sometimes, like it can sort of go away if you are in love with someone when like life comes at you, sometimes in practical ways. And what's interesting about arranged marriages is you work out all the practical stuff before, like, do your families get along? Are you in the same sort of like career and like that sort of stuff and the same culture? And so then it's just about like connecting with a person versus connecting first and then figuring life out around that connection.
Well, I loved like the testimonials that you open and close the film with. It kind of gave it a very When Harry Met Sally vibe. Can you talk about that structural decision and how you found those couples and whether, were they eager to participate or did they take some convincing?
Yeah, originally it was actually scripted interviews with actors who were playing couples, and they were going to be interspersed throughout the movie in a way we would figure out in editing. Then we decided to just interview our relatives because you can't make any of them up. And then we had this idea of of the sort of bookend, which I won't spoil.
Yeah.
But we just interviewed them over Zoom as we were preparing to make the actual movie.
It was very emotional for us to interview them. We did like about 20-minute interviews, and there was your family, then my family, and then some. We wanted to find some younger people, and not just people that met in India or were around there. So my mom connected me to like some doctors who met in their 30s in America and were completely American born and found this the best way to connect to someone. And each time by the end, I remember you asked the question, like, what does your partner mean to you, or something like that, and people would get very emotional, and we would get emotional, and sometimes we'd be like, we were always like surprised by like how the connection was so much deeper than we thought.
It was really interesting because it's such a contrast to, I don't think there's anyone out there who's dating who's like happy. I mean, it seems to suck. So it's like, and then these people describing these very simple emotional stories. Mary, we met each other, it seemed good enough, and we've made a life together. And it was very striking because that is, like I said, a completely valid way to build a family.
Of course. I mean, do you think that the younger generation of Indian Americans feels pressure to participate in an arranged marriage? You think that they're rebelling a bit against that tradition?
They're more introduced than arranged. So their parents, they meet each other and then they make a decision over a more prolonged period of time. I don't think anyone will ever do it again the way that our parents
like I don't
did.
think anyone's decide by Saturday if you're going to get married to this person that you met. But I think it also depends family to family. I think some families are more traditional and expect you to be with someone Indian, and others don't. And oftentimes, if you want to be with someone Indian, America is such a big place, and these websites and ways to connect are often quite easy to meet people, across the United States. So it sort of serves as like a halfway point between that.
Geraldine, you and Karan have great chemistry in this movie, and I know you worked together previously on Miracle Workers. Do you feel like having that shorthand, having done a TV show together, sort of helped you on this set?
100%. We just fell right into it. Like it was just so easy. And yeah, we've done I guess we'd only done 2 seasons of the show together by that point. And yeah, so there was a total shorthand, and I think we really like understand each other as performers and like what our strengths are, and we're friends, so it's like easy to improvise together and all that. So that was the easy part.
Yeah, and to Geraldine's credit, like this was not an easy shoot. We shot a lot of pages a day. The environmental conditions were very hot. It was a heat wave. It was like 110 degrees every day, and it was not easy or glamorous in any way. And she really sort of came in and just was so prepared and just killed it. And it just made all of it so easy. Because for me and Roshan, it was like we were doing a lot of these jobs for the first time, like in terms of we had never had a movie made or any of that. So it was so nice to know that she was there to just, when we needed her to shine, she would shine and be great. And it was
very punishing, honestly, for both of them to know that many pages, memorize that many lines. I mean, I was wearing gym clothes for the entire shoot, but they're wearing these costumes. Geraldine is doing her own makeup. I mean, the whole thing was very difficult. But
and Roshan, I wanted to ask you about the timing of this movie, because I mean, you're an actual doctor, right? But why was this summer, in the midst of everything, the right time to go off and make your feature debut?
Well, I had finished residency, and I'd always juggled screenwriting and residency for so long, for 5 years to be exact, and I had never had my own uninterrupted time to be creative. And I wasn't starting my attending job, which I've now begun, until November. So I had these months to make something, to do something. So that was why now. I only work for 12 weeks of the year. I have a great deal where I can be creative in the times that I'm not in the hospital.
That is a good deal. And since you are a doctor, I actually have this thing on my shoulder.
Yeah, biopsy.
Oh my God, that was extreme.
Just biopsy it, shave it off. I'm not equipped to give medical advice about, I would say, 99% of things. Still subspecialized, but hit me up after this interview and I'll connect you to some people.
Sounds good. Karan, I wanted to ask about, there's been a lot of talk about Deadpool 3 and whatnot. Have you heard anything about the return of Dopinder potentially?
No, I haven't heard anything. I just have I originally signed for 4 movies, so I still have a 2-movie contract that's in an email somewhere that exists. But that's all I really know. Yeah, I haven't really heard anything. I think prior, before it sold to Disney, like at Fox, I know there was a lot of plans and they would actually be more communicative then, but now once that the Disney thing happened, it's very it's all a mystery to what is happening. If we get to make more, it would be so fun to see that character in that expanded world, but also to see Kevin Feige's sort of take on what to do with it, because he's obviously such a huge X-Men fan, and he is getting to play with those characters in that world now. So hope we get to see something with it.
Sure. No, I know a lot of the folks at Collider are stoked for that sequel movie coming up called The Rumble. What can you tell us about that movie?
Ooh, it's a little cutie. It's it's a cutie. It's set in the world of monster wrestling. Well, wrestling, but it's monsters, I should be clear. But that's coming out in, I think, February next year in theaters. So
Paramount Pictures, which is Roshan's favorite studio. He owns multiple Paramount t-shirts.
I've got some shirts from their gift shop.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Roshan, what can you tell me about your the abortion drama that you have coming up, called Jane, with Elizabeth Banks and Kate Mara?
What a switching subject, huh? So yeah, that really owes a lot of credit to the co-writer on it, Haley Shore, whose mother's friend was a part of this movement, the Jane movement in the late 60s. And we wrote the script many years ago, actually. It was on the blacklist in 2017, and then it finally got made just this last month. I wasn't involved, to be honest, with the production at all. But yeah, that has been a mammoth effort getting that movie made. We're so grateful to Elizabeth and Sigourney for finally signing up to do it.
Have you started thinking about what your next feature might be?
Yeah, we toss around ideas all the time. Nothing concrete, but
it all depends on how much money someone will give us to make it come true. We're like, here's if we get more money, what we would make, and if we get no money, what we would.
But we'll eventually just do a kind of before after sunset version of 7 Days, where these two are getting divorced in the next movie. It's called 14 Days.
Oh gosh. Can we go into weeks?
Yeah.
I could be really interesting. I mean, especially where you leave it, and I won't spoil anything. We have to let audiences find this one at the Tribeca Film Festival this week. Well, thank you to the team behind 7 Days for joining us. Look for it soon in theaters. Geraldine, Karan, Roshan, thank you so much.
Thank you.